Have you ever whispered the same affirmation for days and wondered why nothing changed? Maybe you said, "I am abundant," "I am loved," or "it is done," and yet life stayed the same, almost mocking your words. Neville Goddard would smile at that moment and say, "It's not what you say, it's where you say it from. Because your words don't create, your state does." In the next few minutes, you'll discover the hidden reason your affirmations haven't worked, and the one practice that makes them unfailingly real. Neville called it the 3-day test. But this isn't superstition, it's science of consciousness. When you speak from the feeling of the wish fulfilled, the invisible world begins to obey. This isn't about chanting, effort, or luck. It's about something far more radical, learning to speak as if creation is already finished. So if you've ever wondered why your prayers felt unanswered, stay close, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to say for 3 days, and why those 3 days can rewrite your reality forever. He often wondered why some words seemed to vanish into thin air, while others changed everything. The difference, Neville Goddard said, lies in feeling it real, because the spoken word manifestation isn't about sound, it's about vibration. When you say something with your whole being, the universe listens. Every "I am" whispered in faith carries the same creative spark that said, "Let there be light." You see, words are like seeds, invisible, small, easily dismissed. But when spoken from the wish-fulfilled state, they take root in the unseen. If someone repeats, "I am abundant," for 3 days while feeling lack, nothing happens. But if they say it with conviction, that phrase becomes a living thing. It starts to move circumstances, people, and timing into harmony with its meaning. Neville used to explain that creation is finished. Everything already exists in imagination. So when you speak a word, you're not creating something new, you're selecting what already is. The spoken phrase acts like a key, unlocking the version of reality that matches your assumption. That's why those 3 days matter. They impress your consciousness deeply enough to make the unseen visible. Think about it. For 3 days, you hold a single inner tone, steady, unwavering. You say, "It is done," not because you're trying to convince yourself, but because you know it. And in that knowing, something begins to shift quietly. It's not about intensity, it's about consistency. The world starts echoing what you've declared as truth. Someone once told me she repeated, "Everything works in my favor," for 3 mornings before work. At first, nothing special happened. But by the 3rd day, she noticed how calm she felt, and then small coincidences began. A delayed train that made her meet someone new, a call she'd been waiting for. She laughed and said, "It's like my words started breathing." That's the law of assumption in motion. The magic isn't in the number 3, it's in the focus those days demand. 3 days of faithful repetition burn a pattern into consciousness. It's long enough to override the old story, but short enough to stay fresh and alive. When you say something for 3 days with feeling, you're telling your subconscious, "This is who I am now." And the subconscious, being obedient, arranges your world accordingly. Most people underestimate the spoken word because they think it's about language. It's not, it's about energy. Say something with doubt and it fizzles. Say it with faith and it ripples through dimensions unseen. That's why Neville Goddard affirmations work only when they're embodied, when you feel them to be self-evident facts, not hopeful wishes. There's a rhythm to this practice. Speak, feel, rest. Speak again, feel deeper, rest again. Over 3 days, this rhythm synchronizes the conscious and subconscious minds. It's like tuning an instrument until it resonates with divine harmony. Once that alignment is reached, the outer world begins to mirror the inner tone with precision. The spoken word, when felt, becomes command. You're not asking the universe, you're declaring what's already yours. This is the essence of live in the end, to speak from completion, not from lack. Those 3 days are not a waiting period. They're a rehearsal of certainty. The outer world can only follow what's rehearsed inwardly with emotion and faith. So when someone says, "Say this for 3 days, Neville," it's not superstition, it's training. You're teaching your mind to obey your inner conviction. You're reminding yourself that imagination creates reality, not effort or chance. And once you've seen that words backed by feeling become form, you'll never speak carelessly again, because the next topic reveals why words alone aren't enough. Neville often said that words by themselves are like empty shells. They carry no power until you fill them with belief. You can repeat the most poetic Neville Goddard affirmations, but if they're spoken from doubt, they return void. The universe doesn't respond to syllables. It responds to the state of consciousness behind them. Your tone, your inner certainty, that's what commands creation. Think about how children play. When a child declares, "I'm the king of this castle," he doesn't question it. He feels it. That's what Neville meant by feeling it real. The words become alive because the child believes his imagination. Adults lose that gift. They recite affirmations like homework instead of living them like truth. Yet, it's the same law. Imagination creates reality, always. You could say, "I am wealthy," and still vibrate with the fear of bills. The words point in one direction, but your inner state drives in another. The law of assumption demands alignment between the phrase and the feeling. When they contradict, the feeling wins every time. Because it's the feeling that tells the subconscious, "This is what's real for me." Neville explained that creation doesn't hear what you say, it hears what you mean. The moment your words match your inner conviction, reality bends to accommodate them. That's why he warned, never utter anything you don't want to see grow roots. Even casual complaints are seeds. Spoken belief clothed in irritation. The soil doesn't discriminate. It just grows whatever you plant. Have you ever said something in frustration, and it happened almost instantly? That's not coincidence, it's the raw energy of emotion making words magnetic. The same force that manifests chaos can manifest beauty when redirected. When your state is peaceful, grateful, and convinced, your words become calm decrees instead of desperate wishes. To test this, take a simple statement like, "I am chosen." Don't rush it. Close your eyes and let those words sink into your chest. Feel how they change your posture, your breath, your mood. That subtle shift about that warmth, that quiet confidence, is the wish-fulfilled state Neville spoke about. That's the point where words stop being words and become reality blueprints. It's not the repetition that convinces the subconscious. It's the emotional weight you carry while repeating. You could whisper once with total faith and move mountains faster than 1,000 empty recitations. The spoken word manifestation works when it's fused with the awareness of already having received. It's a gentle certainty, not a desperate chant. Imagine a singer hitting the same note repeatedly, but off-key. No matter how many times she tries, the dissonance remains until she tunes herself. Your affirmations work the same way, tuning words to the pitch of belief. Once the inner vibration matches the phrase, the melody of your reality harmonizes perfectly. Neville's brilliance was showing us that creation is finished. Explained simply means you're not forcing something to happen. You're shifting to the state where it's already true. The words you use are just portals to that state. You could say, "Thank you," instead of "I have it," and if you feel it's done, the effect is identical. So speak less from the mouth and more from the heart. Let every declaration rise from an inner knowing rather than an outer desire. Because the next truth you'll discover is that mechanical words, no matter how many, can't touch reality unless you breathe life into them. And that's exactly where we're going next. Neville Goddard once said that parroting affirmations without feeling is like sending letters with no address. They never reach their destination. Many people wonder why they say, "I am abundant," 100 times a day, yet see no change. It's because their words are hollow, echoing in a room of disbelief. The law of assumption responds not to volume but to vibration, to conviction felt as real. Think of it this way. Mechanical repetition is mental exercise. Emotional repetition is spiritual creation. You can repeat a phrase 1,000 times, but if your heart remains cold, it's just noise. Yet a single deeply felt spoken word manifestation can set reality in motion instantly. It's not about how long you say it, it's about how true it feels when you do. Neville often explained that the subconscious doesn't understand effort, it only understands acceptance. When you affirm something mechanically, you're still trying to make it happen, but when you affirm something from conviction, you're agreeing that it already is. That's what separates hope from faith and illusion from reality. It's like someone practicing a smile in front of the mirror without joy. It looks right, but it doesn't glow. That's what most affirmations are, empty gestures without inner fire. The world doesn't change because the subconscious sees no change in you. Once you start feeling it real Neville Goddard style, embodying the feeling, the mirror responds immediately. Some people treat affirmations like medicine. If I say this enough times, maybe it'll work. But the truth is, the medicine is belief. Repetition only helps when it intensifies conviction, not when it replaces it. The wish-fulfilled state Neville isn't reached by counting words, but by surrendering into certainty. That quiet, of course energy is what moves mountains. A woman once shared how she said, "I am loved," for months, but nothing shifted. Until one morning, she paused mid-sentence, breathed, and felt tears rise. For the first time, she believed it. That moment, she said, felt like electricity in her chest. Within days, people began treating her differently. That's the difference between speaking and becoming the word. Mechanical affirmations are like pressing a button on a machine that's unplugged. You're performing the right action, but the power source, emotion, is missing. Plug it back in with faith, gratitude, and inner stillness, and the current flows. Then even a whisper becomes command, because the heart is now behind it. Neville used to say that creation doesn't respond to the how of your affirmation, it responds to the who behind it. Are you speaking as someone who already is, or someone hoping to be? That subtle distinction determines whether your words form or fade. The unseen only moves when the scene has already changed within you. So, if you've been repeating affirmations without results, pause. Don't try harder, feel deeper. Step out of the ritual and into the revelation. Imagine the relief of knowing it's already done. That's when repetition stops being work and becomes worship, a loving reminder of what's eternally true. When words become felt truth, silence becomes powerful too. You won't need to keep saying it, you'll be it. That's when creation starts to rearrange itself with ease. And to reach that point, Neville taught us to choose one single phrase that implies completion, a phrase that becomes your doorway into the state itself. That's exactly what we'll explore next. Neville Goddard always emphasized simplicity, not 1,000 affirmations, just one living phrase. When you choose a sentence like, "It is done," you anchor your mind in completion. That phrase becomes the bridge between imagination and form. It's not a wish whispered into the void, it's a decree spoken from authority. In that moment, you're declaring, "I already am what I sought to become." The mistake most make is choosing words that sound inspiring, but still carry lack. Saying, "I will have it," subtly tells the subconscious, you don't have it yet. But saying, "I am now living my desire," bypasses time entirely. That's the essence of life in the end. To step into the feeling of already having. The words become the final scene of your inner movie. You can think of your chosen phrase as a personal password to the state of fulfillment. Each time you say it, the door to that reality unlocks. Whether it's "It is done," "Thank you, Father," or "I am chosen," the specific words don't matter. The conviction does. The subconscious doesn't speak English, it speaks emotion. Neville taught that imagination creates reality, but imagination guided by a single powerful phrase becomes laser-focused. It stops wandering and starts embodying. Imagine someone saying "it is done" after every anxious thought, not to escape fear but to remind themselves of truth. That's how inner chaos gives way to quiet dominion. In practice, your phrase should feel natural, not forced. It must be something you'd actually say if the desire were already yours. That's why "thank you" is so powerful. It assumes receipt. Gratitude closes the loop. The law of assumption is satisfied the moment you act, speak, and feel as though it's finished. Picture this. You've been waiting for news about a dream opportunity. Instead of doubting, you pause, breathe, and whisper, "It is done." Instantly, your shoulders drop, your heart slows, and your mind quiets. That shift, that peace, is proof you've entered the wish-fulfilled state Neville described. That's the true purpose of the phrase. This isn't about pretending or tricking the mind. It's about remembering that creation is finished explained means everything already exists. You're just tuning to the version where it's true. Your chosen phrase is how you align to that frequency. Each time you speak it, you're saying to reality, "I know who I am now." One phrase, one focus, that's the secret. People scatter their power across dozens of affirmations, never realizing that clarity amplifies energy. When you choose a single declaration and embody it, your subconscious finally understands what to create. It's like giving it one clear blueprint instead of 10 conflicting drafts. So take a moment. Ask yourself, what phrase feels like peace? What words make your body exhale? That's your signal. The right phrase doesn't excite you. It calms you. It carries the quiet confidence of someone who's already home. When you find it, don't just say it, live it. Because once you've chosen your phrase, the real practice begins. It's not about saying it once and forgetting it. It's about breathing it into your days, letting it echo through your morning, afternoon, and night. And that's exactly what Neville invited us to do next, Turn the phrase into a living rhythm of faith. Neville Goddard often said that the secret isn't intensity, it's rhythm. 3 times a day is enough to impress the subconscious, as long as each moment is lived with sincerity. Morning, noon, and night, 3 portals to remind yourself of what's already true. You're not chasing the manifestation, you're rehearsing the feeling of fulfillment until it becomes second nature. Start simple. In the morning, before the mind remembers who it used to be, whisper your phrase, "It is done." Let it melt into your breath. As you say it, imagine a scene, maybe a phone call, a smile, or a quiet knowing that implies your wish is fulfilled. That's how feeling it real Neville Goddard style becomes your daily act of creation. At midday, pause for a minute. Step out of the noise, close your eyes, and return to the same inner movie. See it clearly, the light, the sounds, the emotions. You're not imagining it in the sense of fantasy. You're visiting a parallel truth. This is how imagination creates reality, by repeatedly dwelling where the desired outcome already exists. At night, before sleep, the final repetition matters most. The mind is soft then, receptive. Whisper your phrase again, slow, calm, final. Feel it descend into the silence like a seed falling into perfect soil. Neville called this prayer, not as petition, but as possession, the quiet acceptance that the law of assumption has already delivered. Consistency is more powerful than duration. It's not about long visualizations, it's about depth. A few seconds of pure conviction outweigh hours of mental chatter. The subconscious doesn't measure time, it registers intensity. That's why 3 focused moments can transform your world faster than endless effort. To make it practical, set gentle reminders. Every time you take a break or see your reflection, pause and breathe your phrase. I am now living my desire. The more you tie it to ordinary moments, the faster it becomes automatic. You're training your consciousness to default to certainty instead of doubt. If imagination feels forced, try sensory anchors. Imagine the warmth of a handshake after success, the sound of laughter in your dream home, or the softness of sheets in your desired life. The body believes sensations faster than logic. Once your nerves agree, the subconscious follows effortlessly. You'll notice something strange after a few days. The outer world starts mirroring these inner scenes. Maybe you overhear a conversation about your desire, or someone offers help unexpectedly. These are echoes of your assumption taking shape. The invisible always moves first. The visible simply catches up. Don't treat this like a ritual to get something. Treat it as communion, a daily alignment with the truth of who you already are. Every repetition is a return home. And when done with love, these pauses become moments of peace rather than striving. You begin to crave them because they remind you of your power. 3 times a day, just that. Each word felt, not forced. Each scene imagined, not fabricated. Soon you'll realize the repetition isn't for the universe, it's for you to dissolve doubt. And once the word and the feeling merge, something deeper begins to happen. The unseen starts solidifying into form. Neville Goddard often said that feeling is the secret signature of creation, the divine stamp that proves your word has taken root. You can repeat all the Neville Goddard affirmations in the world, but it's the emotion afterward that tells you whether the seed has been accepted. When you feel gratitude, peace, or quiet certainty, that's the universe whispering, "It's done." You'll notice how this feeling isn't loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or drama. It's a deep calm, the same calm you feel after finishing something important. That's the wish-fulfilled state Neville spoke of, the stillness of completion. In that stillness, imagination has done its work, and reality has already begun to rearrange itself around your new assumption. When you say your chosen phrase, "It is done," for example, and a wave of relief follows, don't overlook it. That sensation is manifestation in motion. The law of assumption operates silently beneath the surface of that peace. You might not see evidence immediately, but the feeling itself is evidence. It's the invisible beginning to crystallize into the visible. Think of it like baking bread. Once you've mixed the ingredients and placed it in the oven, you don't keep opening the door every minute to check. You trust the process because you know heat is transforming it. That's what gratitude and certainty do. They're the heat of creation, turning spiritual dough into tangible form. Neville often described gratitude as the most natural prayer. Not pleading, not persuading, just thankful acknowledgement that it's already finished. Gratitude is the emotional bridge between unseen and seen. The more you dwell in it, the faster the invisible becomes visible, because you stop vibrating with need and start radiating with fulfillment. Peace is another signpost. It's when your mind no longer argues or asks, "When will it happen?" That quietness isn't boredom, it's faith fulfilled. You don't check the mail when you already know the package has arrived. You simply live as though it's here. That's what feeling it real Neville Goddard truly means, not wishing but knowing. Sometimes people mistake emotional neutrality for indifference, but true neutrality in manifestation is sacred. It's the point where desire and fulfillment blend. You no longer feel the tension of wanting because you've become the person who has. The invisible at that point is already under construction. You may begin to sense subtle confirmations, small synchronicities, gentle waves of reassurance. Someone mentions what you were affirming, or an opportunity appears effortlessly. These aren't signs to convince you, they're reflections of your new frequency. The feeling moved first, reality simply followed. The beauty of this process is that once feeling seals the word, you don't need to maintain effort. You don't have to keep believing like holding your breath. You can relax into the rhythm of faith. That's why Neville said creation is finished explained. You're merely aligning with what's already real in imagination. And as you learn to rest in that peace, something profound unfolds. The realization that the feeling itself is the manifestation. Everything physical is just the shadow of that inner certainty. And when doubt tries to resurface, the next step isn't resistance or struggle. It's remembering your phrase and saying it again with quiet authority. Neville Goddard used to smile when people told him they were fighting doubt. He'd say, "Stop wrestling shadows," because every argument with fear keeps it alive. The mind doesn't respond to resistance, it responds to replacement. So when doubt whispers, your only task is to return, calmly, firmly into your chosen phrase. It is done. Say it not as a defense, but as remembrance. This is one of Neville's most misunderstood teachings. The law of assumption doesn't ask you to defeat old thoughts, only to disregard them. Imagine brushing away dust from a mirror. You don't analyze every particle, you just clear it to see again. Doubt is the dust. Faith is the clear reflection that your imagination creates reality now. When doubt strikes, it's not proof of failure, it's proof of progress. It means the old state is losing its grip and the new one is forming. Your job is to hold the new tone. That's where your phrase becomes your anchor. Whisper it like a king reasserting his decree. You're not pleading with the universe, you're reminding the mind who's in charge. Think of your consciousness as a classroom. Doubt is that one loud student trying to distract everyone. If you argue, you feed the noise, but if you keep teaching calmly, the rest of the class follows. Your steady authority over time trains the mind to obey the wish-fulfilled state Neville described, a state of quiet dominion. When fear says, "What if it doesn't work?" respond with stillness. No debate, no emotional flinch, just breathe and affirm, "It already has." The more peaceful your response, the faster the old belief dissolves. You're teaching your subconscious through example that peace is the new normal. Neville explained that the mind is a servant, not a master, but it obeys only the energy you consistently embody. If you argue, it senses uncertainty. If you declare with conviction, it surrenders. That's why spoken word manifestation is not about shouting louder, it's about speaking from stillness. A whisper from certainty has more power than a scream from fear. Picture a lighthouse in a storm. The waves roar, the wind howls, but the light never argues with the darkness, it just shines. Your chosen phrase works the same way. It is done. I am now living my desire. The repetition isn't for the storm, it's for you to keep your light steady while old patterns crash against the rocks. If you find yourself overwhelmed, step back and reconnect with feeling. Remember, emotion is the switch. Say your phrase softly until peace begins to rise again. Feel gratitude, not for what's coming, but for what already is. That subtle shift reactivates the feeling it real Neville Goddard principle and dissolves tension effortlessly. Eventually, the doubts fade because they stop finding an audience. The mind learns there's no point arguing with someone who won't engage. That's when true transformation happens, when silence becomes your answer. You'll know you've reached mastery when fear feels irrelevant, almost boring. And in that serene strength, the outer world begins to follow your calm instead of your chaos. Circumstances rearrange quietly to match your steadiness. That's the miracle Neville hinted at, that the mind obeys the state, not the struggle. And soon, as you keep repeating with quiet certainty, the first signs of change begin to show themselves. effortless, aligned, undeniable. Neville Goddard loved to remind his students, when the inner state changes, the outer world must follow. But it rarely announces itself with fanfare. Instead, it begins with subtleties, a feeling of unexpected peace, small coincidences, moments that seem too aligned to be random. These are not mere signs to look for. They're reflections that your law of assumption is already in motion. You'll notice that people start echoing your new state back to you. Someone may compliment you using the exact words you've been affirming, or an opportunity appears without effort. That's the invisible world beginning to crystallize. It's how imagination creates reality, not through sudden magic, but through 1,000 small, seamless rearrangements. The first true sign, however, is you. That calm you feel, that quiet assurance, is the inner confirmation that your assumption has taken root. It's not excitement, it's certainty. The kind of certainty you feel when you know the sun will rise. That emotional stillness is far more powerful than any external coincidence. Neville once said that when you've truly felt it real, outer evidence becomes irrelevant, because the shift inside you is the evidence. But the universe is generous. It will still send winks your way. You'll hear the right words, meet the right people, stumble into perfect timing. It's as if life itself conspires to whisper, "You're on the right path." One student once told Neville she began affirming, "I always receive good news." Within days, her mailbox flooded with letters of blessings, job offers, and joyful messages. "It's uncanny," she said. He replied simply, "No, it's law." That's how spoken word manifestation works. It moves unseen currents until the visible world mirrors your tone. Don't be fooled into thinking signs are separate from you. They're your reflection, not rewards. Each synchronicity is a mirror of your current assumption. When you feel the wish-fulfilled state Neville described, the mirror brightens. That's why some people suddenly see angel numbers, hear familiar songs, or attract kind strangers. They're glimpsing the echo of their new vibration. And then there's the calm, perhaps the most underrated indicator of progress. When anxiety fades without reason, when you no longer feel the need to check on your manifestation, that's grace unfolding. The invisible has already begun to solidify. You've stopped pushing because the work is done in imagination. Life begins to feel lighter, smoother. Things that used to frustrate you now roll off your shoulders. That's what happens when you stop fighting with reality and start flowing with it. The world no longer resists you because it no longer needs to. You're aligned. And alignment, Neville would say, is simply love made visible. Even challenges start appearing as part of the unfolding rather than obstacles. A closed door might redirect you perfectly. Someone's delay might be divine timing in disguise. Everything rearranges itself to support your assumption once your feeling stabilizes. This is creation is finished explained in real time. So, if lately you've been noticing gentle coincidences, unexpected calm, or perfect timing, don't shrug them off. Recognize them as proof that the invisible is moving. You've crossed the threshold between hoping and knowing. And when this embodiment deepens even more, something beautiful happens. You no longer need the signs at all because you become the sign itself. Neville Goddard often said that the goal of every affirmation is to make itself obsolete. The day you no longer need to repeat it is the day it has fully taken root. That's when you've entered true embodiment, the wish-fulfilled state Neville spoke of, where words dissolve into being. You stop declaring, "I am abundant," because abundance now feels as natural as breathing. This stage can feel almost strange at first. You might realize you've gone hours or days without consciously affirming, yet everything flows beautifully. That's not complacency, that's mastery. The subconscious has accepted the new identity. It's running automatically, projecting your assumption into every corner of your reality. Imagine learning to ride a bike. In the beginning, you think about every movement, the balance, the pedals, the handlebars. But once it's embodied, you ride without thinking. Manifestation works the same way. At first, you use Neville Goddard affirmations as training wheels, but eventually, the state rides itself. This is what creation is finished explained truly means. The work ends when the identity stabilizes. You no longer have to believe harder or visualize daily. Your world becomes a natural echo of your inner conviction. Just as a mirror automatically reflects whoever stands before it, reality now mirrors your embodied state without effort. At this level, words feel too small to contain your knowing. Instead of saying, "It is done," you live as the done version of you. Decisions, actions, and conversations flow from that identity. It's the highest expression of the law of assumption, where being replaces becoming. People might even notice the change before you do. They'll say, "You seem different," or "You always get what you want." They're observing your inner frequency made visible. You're not forcing anything anymore. You're radiating it. The spoken word manifestation has become silent embodiment. In this state, peace becomes constant. You stop oscillating between hope and fear. You wake up already feeling whole, without needing proof. That's the true gift Neville tried to impart, that faith, once stabilized, is self-sustaining. The external world simply organizes itself to match your internal order. It's not that affirmations stop working, it's that you've outgrown them. They've done their job, like scaffolding around a completed building. You can admire the structure without needing the support anymore. You've become the living architecture of your own assumption. At this point, even silence speaks. Your energy declares louder than words ever could. That's why Neville said that feeling is prayer. Once you feel truth so deeply, the universe hears it without sound. You've crossed from doing into being, from saying into knowing. And from this effortless state of embodiment, something even deeper begins to unfold. A timeless realization that words, feelings, and manifestations were always one movement. That you've never been waiting for creation. You've always been the one speaking it into being. And that eternal recognition leads perfectly to the final truth Neville left us with. You say it for 3 days, but feel it forever. Neville Goddard's final message was always simple. 3 days of repetition are just the spark. Eternity is the flame. You speak your phrase to awaken belief, but once belief is alive, it carries itself. The spoken word manifestation doesn't end when you stop saying it. It begins when you start being it. That's when the invisible bows to the visible. Those 3 days are symbolic, a cycle of death, rest, and resurrection. Your old identity dissolves, your new state gestates, and on the 3rd day consciousness rises renewed. Say this for 3 days, Neville, isn't a command. It's an initiation. You're training the mind to surrender to the law of assumption, where desire and fulfillment merge into one. When you reach this point, repetition transforms into remembrance. Every breath, every step, every glance becomes a quiet declaration. It is done. You no longer need to convince yourself. You feel it. The feeling it real, Neville Goddard taught, becomes your resting state, the silent hum beneath your daily life. The invisible doesn't suddenly appear. It's simply unveiled, like light revealing what was always there. You realize that creation is finished, explained, means you're only awakening to what's already yours. The word, when married to feeling, dissolves the illusion of time and distance. It turns tomorrow's dream into today's awareness. Gratitude naturally flows here. You thank life not for what's coming, but for what's eternally present. That gratitude keeps your consciousness tuned to fulfillment. It's why Neville said prayer is not asking, but thanksgiving. The moment you feel thankful, you've entered the wish-fulfilled state Neville made famous, the vibration of already done. The beauty of this truth is its simplicity. You don't need rituals, scripts, or endless affirmations. Just one phrase, one feeling, and one unwavering knowing. Speak it, feel it, and let it rest. That rest is power. The kind that bends reality without effort because it no longer doubts. And so the practice becomes a way of living. You start noticing how easily life unfolds when you stay in that quiet assurance. Doors open, opportunities align, relationships harmonize, not because you're forcing them, but because you're finally in rhythm with the infinite imagination that creates all things. Neville's students used to ask, "When should I stop affirming?" His answer, "When you no longer need to." Because the moment the word and the feeling fuse, manifestation becomes identity. You've crossed from effort into embodiment, from repetition into realization. That's when life begins to mirror your inner stillness perfectly. So yes, say it for 3 days if you must, but feel it as long as you breathe. Let your very existence become the affirmation. Let your peace, your presence, your joy be the evidence. The invisible world responds instantly to one who is, not one who tries. And when you understand this, everything changes. Prayer, manifestation, even the idea of waiting. You realize you've never been asking. You've always been remembering. The word and the feeling were never separate. They've always been the same heartbeat, whispering one eternal truth: it is done. Now that you understand how the word and the feeling become one, pause for a moment. Ask yourself, What would my life look like if I truly spoke from the end, not toward it? What if, for the next 3 days, every word that left your lips carried the weight of completion, as if the universe were already saying yes? Because that's all Neville Goddard ever wanted you to realize. You're not waiting for a miracle. You're creating it every time you feel it real. The law of assumption isn't about effort. It's about identity. You don't chase change. You become the change, and your world can do nothing but mirror it. So tonight, before you sleep, whisper your phrase one more time. Say it with love, not urgency. Say it as if it's already echoing through eternity. Then rest, knowing the invisible has already begun to take form. If this message spoke to you, let it keep unfolding. Subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and stay close, because each new video will help you remember what Neville always knew. You are the voice that speaks worlds into being.